chosen one. Stop here for a moment. Do not let this slip past you as if it were ordinary. Today, heaven itself paused to watch you. In a world rushing and distracted, your single act of faith and obedience rose like incense before God's throne. You might think it was small. You might think it was insignificant, an unnoticed choice, a gentle word, a decision to hold back when anger burned in your chest. But the kingdom does not measure greatness the way men do. Heaven measures love, surrender, and obedience. Picture a lone candle in a cavern. The darkness does not complain that the flame is too small. It simply retreats. That is what you did today. You pushed darkness back with your light. And God smiled. There have been nights when you felt unseen, days when you carried weight in silence, when others turned away or forgot you. But hear me clearly, heaven has never overlooked you. Today, your action in the unseen shook the unseen realm. Angels rejoiced, hell trembled, and God declared, "This one is mine." Omzen. Once, there was another chosen one like you. They lived in the shadows, in long seasons of waiting, wondering if God noticed the sacrifices no one else did. They prayed when the room was silent. They chose purity when compromise was easy. For years, no applause came. Yet one day, heaven revealed how every hidden act had been written in fire across eternity. Today, you stepped into that same story. The Word of God declares in the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 10, "Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength." That is what happened today. In your choice, you gave God joy, and His joy became your strength, even if you did not feel it at first. The world sees weakness, but heaven calls it power. Think of a harp abandoned in an attic. Dust settles, strings loosen. No one remembers the melody it once carried. But when the master touches it again, the sound released is deeper, richer, more hauntingly beautiful than before. That was you today. You let the hand of the master rest on your life, and music came forth that the enemy could not silence. Listen closely. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will see what you do in secret. But the smallest step of obedience is writing chapters of glory in the book of heaven. What you sowed today, even if it looked invisible, will bloom in a season you cannot yet see. A drop of rain falling on a barren field does not look like much. But under the soil, unseen roots awaken, and life begins to stir. That is what your act did today. Life is awakening because you chose obedience. And now, I must ask you, will you keep walking this way? Will you keep choosing the unseen faithfulness over the noisy approval of men? Heaven is calling you deeper. If this message burns in your spirit, do not stay silent. Click like. Let this testimony echo further. Share this message, because another weary chosen one needs to be reminded that heaven sees them too. Subscribe, because more words of fire are coming, and they will lift you into your next season. And right now, mark this moment with a prophetic act. Type the number 777 inches, the comments. Not because numbers save, but because it is your declaration. I align with heaven's joy, and I will keep walking in obedience. End 1. Chosen one. Heaven wrote your name today beside joy. What you thought was small has reached the throne room. Do not despise it. Do not dismiss it. The smile of God rests on you tonight. And that is worth more than the approval of the whole world. And maybe you wonder, but why does God care about something so small? Hear this truth. The kingdom has always advanced through seeds, not through monuments. David's sling was small. A widow's jar of oil was small. A boy's 5 loaves and 2 fish were small. But in God's hands, what looks like little becomes unstoppable. This is why heaven paused today. Not because you performed for the crowd, but because you walked in quiet obedience. You said yes when no one else was listening. That yes weighed more than 1,000 shouts of empty noise. That yes was worship. That yes was fire. Chosen one. Heaven will never forget this moment, and you cannot imagine what fruit will rise from it. Today, eternity turned a page because of what you did. Walk on with confidence. God is smiling still. Chosen one. Let me draw you deeper into this mystery. What you did today was more than just an outward action. It was an act of unseen obedience. The world often glorifies what is visible, the loud voice, the public gesture, the polished image. But God measures the secret places, the quiet choices that no one else notices. That is where your strength lies. You see, heaven has always worked in hidden ways. A seed breaks underground long before anyone sees a sprout. The foundation of a house is laid beneath the soil before walls rise. In the same way, your unseen obedience carries a weight far beyond what your eyes can measure. Today, when you chose to hold your peace, when you chose to show kindness, when you chose to forgive or to stay pure, you released a sound that only heaven could hear. Think of a whisper carried on the wind. To most ears, it vanishes into silence. Yet when it reaches the right heart, it becomes a spark, igniting something powerful. Your unseen act was that whisper, and God received it as an offering. There is a story of one who lived like this long ago. She was not known by kings or crowds, but she was known by God. In her quiet devotion, she prayed over her children. She gave when she barely had enough for herself, and she refused to turn bitter when others mocked her. Decades passed. Few recognized her name, yet the fruit of her obedience became generations of leaders, prophets, and healers. Her name might never be written in history books, but it was carved into heaven's scrolls, and so is yours. The voice of God thundered in the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 6. For I desire mercy, not sacrifice, acknowledgement of God, not burnt offerings. Do you see it? God delights not in empty gestures done for the eyes of men, but in a heart that chooses him when no one is looking. Your unseen obedience has more power than 1,000 rituals done for recognition. Let me give you another picture. Imagine a lighthouse standing on a lonely cliff. Ships at sea cannot see the keeper who tends the lamp night after night. They do not know the hours of labor, the oil carried, the weary climb up narrow stairs. But when the storm rises and waves threaten to destroy, that light saves lives. The keeper is invisible, but his obedience is everything. You, chosen one, are like that keeper. Your obedience has lit a flame that will guide others safely, even if they never know your name. There is a holy weight on the unseen. The enemy tries to whisper, "It doesn't matter. No one noticed. You wasted your effort." But hell is terrified of your obedience precisely because it cannot be measured by human eyes. It is written in eternity. and eternity cannot be erased. Perhaps today you prayed quietly, or you helped someone without telling anyone, or you turned away from a temptation no one else would ever know about. Heaven saw it, and in the record of heaven, that action will echo forever. Unseen obedience is a sword sharper than steel. It cuts chains in the spirit. It breaks cycles you may never witness with your own eyes. One act of unseen obedience today could be the reason someone years from now finds freedom, even though you may never connect the dots. Chosen one, I want you to rest in this truth. You do not have to prove yourself to people. The applause of the world is temporary, fading like smoke in the wind, but the smile of God over your secret faithfulness is eternal. That smile rested on you today. Think again of the harp in the storm, the candle in the cave, the drop of rain on dry ground. Each one looks fragile, almost insignificant. Yet each one carries enough power to change the environment around it. So it is with your unseen obedience. It is fragile in appearance, but eternal in impact. When you laid that decision before God today, you touched eternity. When you whispered that prayer, you moved the heart of the Father. When you turned from compromise, you built an altar in the unseen. And God said, "This pleases me." Never forget this. Obedience is not about size, but about sincerity. Heaven does not rank you by how loud you are, but by how true your yes is. And today, your yes was enough to bring joy to God's heart. Chosen one, the unseen places are where crowns are forged. Every hidden act of faith is another jewel prepared for you in glory. Walk boldly into the unseen, for there lies your greatest treasure. Chosen one, your life has more power than you realize. Even when your voice trembles, even when your heart feels worn, the light you carry is disruptive to darkness. What you spoke, what you prayed, what you whispered today, it was not wasted. It pierced through atmospheres. Sometimes you wonder, does God even hear me? The silence around you may feel heavy, but heaven is not ignoring you. The unseen kingdom is stirred every time you move in faith. Your prayer, no matter how small, becomes an arrow that cannot be recalled. It does not dissolve into the air. It travels, and it strikes exactly where the Father sends it. Let me tell you about a chosen one who once lived in waiting. He prayed night after night for years, whispering the same words while people mocked him. His family called him foolish. His friends abandoned him. Yet one night, when the time had fully come, the answer broke through. His quiet prayers had been building a flood, and when heaven's dam opened, it poured over an entire nation. You may feel hidden, but what you're carrying in prayer is gathering force. According to what is revealed in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." No, do you see it? Every word you release in faith is stored. It is not denied, only delayed until the right moment. Heaven never misplaces your prayers. Imagine a letter sealed and placed into the hand of a faithful messenger. You may not see the journey it takes through mountains and storms, but you can be sure it will reach its destination. Your words to God are carried the same way. They do not vanish, they arrive. This is why the enemy tries to convince you that silence means failure. He fears your persistence. He fears your faith. A single whisper from your lips can shatter chains in the spirit realm. This is why you must not give up. And here is what I want you to do. In the comments, type "My prayer lives." These 3 words are more than text on a screen. They are a prophetic stamp. By writing them, you are declaring that your prayers are not dead, not forgotten, not ignored. They are alive, carried into eternity, waiting for the moment God has appointed. Chosen one. Do not underestimate this. Words have power. Heaven hears, earth records, and hell trembles. And when you mark your declaration with even a short phrase like this, you are standing shoulder to shoulder with generations who refuse to give up. So lift your head. The silence you feel is not absence. It is preparation. Your words are rising even now before the throne. And God is not deaf to your cry. He is storing it for the appointed time. And maybe you feel weary because the answers haven't yet arrived. You've been sowing prayers into the ground, but the soil still looks dry. Chosen one. Don't forget, seeds take time to break through. When the farmer looks at his field, he doesn't panic on day 2. He knows the roots are working beneath the surface, out of sight. That is where you are right now. The enemy whispers that your prayers are useless. He wants you to abandon them, to stop sowing, to silence your cry. But the truth is this: every prayer has already been heard, already stored, already marked with God's seal. Heaven is not ignoring you. Heaven is aligning things for you. Think of incense rising in a temple. The worshipper cannot see where the smoke goes, but it fills the room. It touches heaven, and it leaves a fragrance behind. Your prayers are like that incense. They linger in the atmosphere even when you cannot see them anymore. So when I ask you to write "My prayer lives," understand what it means. You are declaring, "My words have not died in silence. They are alive before God's throne. They carry power. They will accomplish their mission, and they cannot be stolen." This is not just typing a phrase. It is aligning your spirit with heaven's truth. When you write it, you push back against doubt. You push back against despair. You are refusing to bury what God has called alive. You are saying, "I believe in the unseen work. I believe in the God who keeps promises. I believe that delay is not denial." So, chosen one, take courage. Every whisper you ever gave to God is still breathing in His presence. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is forgotten. Write it now in faith. My prayer lives. Let this be your stand, your banner, your declaration against the silence. Chosen one. There is something heaven noticed today that others overlooked. You carried a weight no one else wanted to touch, while some walked past, pretending not to see. You bent low and picked it up. And that moment, unseen by crowds, but recorded in eternity, became a holy act before the Lord. So many rush to be seen doing something noble. They want applause. They want recognition. But you carried your burden in silence. No stage, no spotlight, no one clapping their hands. You picked up what was left behind, and God Himself leaned close, whispering, "This is my child." There is an ancient power in choosing to carry what others drop. Look at Moses when he saw his people suffering under the weight of slavery. He chose to step into their pain. He could have stayed in the palace, living in comfort, forgetting where he came from. but he carried the weight of his people on his shoulders, and through him, God broke chains. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 46, verse 4. Even to your old age and grey hairs I am He. I am He who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will rescue you. Do you hear the tenderness in those words? God Himself carries us. And when you mirror His heart by carrying the burdens of others, you reflect His image in the earth. That is why your action today, though unseen by men, was a mirror of heaven's compassion. Let me give you an image. Imagine a bridge over a rushing river. Travelers walk across, safe and dry, but they never stop to thank the stones hidden beneath the surface, bearing the weight of every step. You, chosen one, are like that hidden stone. The bridge would collapse without you. People may not realize it, but heaven does. Carrying what others ignore is not weakness. It is strength refined in fire. Anyone can carry what is light and easy, but when you bend down to shoulder what others abandon, you step into the heart of Christ Himself, who carried the cross when no one else could. Do you know why the enemy despises this? Because he thrives on selfishness, on people walking past one another, blind to pain. But when you step in and lift the forgotten weight, you break his pattern. You shine a light in a world obsessed with self. Think of Simon of Cyrene. He did not wake up that morning expecting to carry a cross, but in one moment, he was chosen to shoulder the weight with Jesus. That act, though brief, became immortalized in the eternal story of salvation. Your action today may have looked small, but it carried eternal significance in the same way. Perhaps you carried someone's sorrow in prayer. Perhaps you covered their mistake in mercy. Perhaps you stood quietly beside someone others mocked. These things do not appear in headlines, but they thunder in the heavens. Remember this: when you bend low to lift what others refuse, heaven bends down to strengthen you. God Himself sustains those who carry what matters to His heart. You do not carry it alone. And there is a secret reward hidden here. The very thing you carry for others becomes the ground where your own blessing will spring forth. The soil watered with compassion is the same soil where your harvest will grow. Chosen one, do not despise the hidden weight. It is shaping you, refining you, making you a vessel heaven can trust. The world may walk past, but God sees every step, every tear, every strain in your heart, and He calls it holy. Keep carrying. One day, the world will see the fruit of what you lifted in secret. But even if no one does, heaven has already written it down. And though the burden felt heavy in your hands, it was not wasted. Every step you took while carrying it was a testimony written in heaven. You may not see the immediate results, but in the spirit realm, doors opened and chains loosened because you were willing to lift what others ignored. Remember, chosen one, this weight is not forever. God Himself has promised to sustain you. The very act of carrying is building unseen strength inside you. Like iron sharpened in the fire, you are becoming unshakable, molded into a vessel that can handle greater glory ahead. So walk on with confidence. What you bore today has already brought joy to the Father's heart. And one day, you will see how this hidden obedience was not just survival, it was preparation for your crown. Chosen one, heaven clapped for you today. even though no human hand was raised in your direction, when no crowd gathered, when no voice shouted your name, angels themselves filled the unseen with thunderous applause. Why? Because you remained faithful when silence surrounded you. It is easy to continue when people cheer you on. It is easy to run when voices echo encouragement in your ear. But the true test comes in the valley where no one notices, where your steps seem small and the road stretches long. That was where you walked today, and you did not stop. When no one clapped, heaven did. And that sound is louder than you can imagine. It is not like the applause of men that fades as quickly as it rises. It is not like the fleeting praise of a crowd that shifts tomorrow. It is eternal. It is written. It will never be erased. According to what is revealed in the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 17, "The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing." Pause on that. Chosen one. Can you imagine it? God himself singing over you. The King of glory lifting his voice, rejoicing because of your faithfulness. You may feel ordinary, but to heaven, your persistence is a symphony. Think of an empty theater. Its seats dark and silent. A single violin begins to play. Not for the crowd, but for the composer who wrote the song. The sound rises, echoes through the rafters, and fills the hall with beauty. That is what your obedience looks like, even if no one else listens. Heaven hears, and heaven sings back. And here is the truth. You don't need the world's applause. When you walk in obedience, you already carry the melody of heaven. The joy of the Father is your reward. His smile is your crown. But let me invite you into something deeper. If this message touches you, treat your action the same way you treated your obedience today. Not forced, not loud, not for recognition, but as a quiet offering of the heart, like the violin in the empty hall. Let it be a song you play for the one who already sings over you. So if your spirit feels stirred, you may choose to let this message breathe wider. You can press like, not as a habit, but as a way of saying, I heard the song, and I add my note. You can share not for numbers, but as a seed scattered like a bird carrying branches to build another nest. And you can subscribe, not because of pressure, but because you want to stay in the flow of melodies heaven keeps releasing here. Every click, every share, every connection is not just data, it is another echo in the unseen symphony. It is another instrument joining the orchestra that God himself conducts. And the beauty of this orchestra is that no one is forced. Every player lifts their sound freely because they want to. So let it be voluntary. Let it be beautiful. If you add your voice, let it be because your heart knows the worth of what heaven celebrates. If not, you are still loved. You are still chosen. You are still part of this unseen music. But if you do join in, let it not feel mechanical. Let it feel like lifting your hands in a quiet meadow, where only you and God are listening. That is how heaven receives even your smallest act, like music carried on the wind. Chosen one. Never forget this. No one may have clapped for you on earth today, but heaven filled the skies with joy because of you. And whether you act here or not, that song over your life does not stop. It will keep rising, keep resounding, keep declaring, this one is mine. and I delight in them." End quote. And when you close your eyes tonight, imagine the applause of heaven still echoing above you. It does not fade when the day ends. It lingers like a melody that will carry you into tomorrow. The world may never write your story in its books, but heaven has already written it in light. And one day, when the veil lifts, you will see how your quiet yes became a song that changed eternity. Rest now, chosen one. The Father is still singing. His joy is still rising, and His delight in you is unshakable. Chosen one. Heaven leaned close when you chose surrender instead of compromise today. It was a decision so quiet that most would overlook it. Yet in the unseen realm, it rang like a bell. The choice to give up something temporary, to honor God above your own comfort, that is what made His heart glad. You may not realize it, but every time you say no to compromise, you are saying a louder yes to eternity. Compromise offers quick relief, quick gain, quick satisfaction. But surrender writes a story that never fades. And today, you chose surrender. Think of a traveler standing at a crossroads. One path is wide, filled with light, laughter, and crowds rushing forward. The other path is narrow, hidden under branches, with only faint footprints to follow. Few choose it. But when you stepped onto that narrow road today, heaven noticed. That was the moment God smiled and whispered, "This one belongs to me." We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 51, verse 17. "The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise." This is the secret heaven has always honored. Not perfect performance, not grand gestures, but a heart surrendered. Your willingness to bow low, to yield when compromise beckoned, was more valuable to God than gold poured on an altar. Let me give you an image. Imagine a pearl inside an oyster. It forms not through comfort, but through irritation and resistance. The oyster suffers, but the struggle creates treasure. Your surrender in uncomfortable places is producing pearls in the spirit, treasures that eternity will unveil. I recall the story of a chosen one who once lived hidden, constantly tempted to blend in, to lower the standard so others would accept him. He wrestled in silence. Yet every time he chose surrender over compromise, his roots grew deeper, and in the right season, God lifted him up, not because he was flawless, but because he had learned the power of saying no when it mattered. Compromise always looks easier. It promises shortcuts, but shortcuts never reach the mountain peak. Only surrender leads there. Your choice today, invisible though it seemed, placed another stone on the path toward glory. Do you know what terrifies the enemy most? It is not the noise of your words, but the depth of your surrender, because surrender means you are no longer controlled by temptation, by fear, or by opinion. It means your heart belongs fully to the Father, and nothing can bribe you away. Chosen one. This is why heaven leaned close. The Father saw you release something, and His joy was overwhelming, even if you felt loss in the moment. Heaven recorded gain, even if others misunderstood. Heaven understood. Your choice echoed in the chambers of eternity. Imagine a tree bending in the storm. Its branches sway, its leaves scatter, but its roots die deeper. Every storm that tests it only secures it further. That is what surrender looks like in your life. Today, you bent before God, and in doing so, you became unshakable. This is your reminder. Never despise the weight of surrender. It may cost you comfort, but it always brings you closer to Christ. It may silence you in the eyes of men, but it sings in the ears of heaven. And now, I want you to mark this moment. In the comments, type the number 333. This is more than digits, it is a declaration. By writing it, you are aligning yourself with the reminder of God's presence in every season. 3 has always carried the echo of the divine, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. When you write 333, you are proclaiming, I choose to walk with the fullness of God. I surrender to His Trinity, and I embrace His presence in my decisions. It is not just a number, it is your banner. It is you planting your staff in the ground and saying, I will not bow to compromise. I will not chase shortcuts. I will not abandon the narrow way. I walk with the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, fully and forever. Chosen one. Let your surrender continue to shape you. The road may be narrow, but it is filled with hidden treasures, and every step you take, every compromise you refuse, every tear you surrender, heaven collects them all. One day, you will see how much glory came from a single choice to lay down what the world offered, and you will understand that God's smile over your obedience was worth more than any applause. Keep walking the narrow way. Keep saying no to compromise. Keep saying yes to Him. Heaven is still leaning close. And the song over your life grows louder every time you choose surrender. Chosen one. There is something you must understand. What you did today broke more than just a moment of struggle. It disrupted cycles of despair that had followed you, even generations before you. You may not have realized it, but your single act of faith became a hammer that shattered patterns the enemy thought would last forever. Cycles often come silently. They weave through families, through bloodlines, through stories repeated again and again. Perhaps it is anger that passes like inheritance. Perhaps it is fear, poverty, bitterness, or broken relationships. These cycles move quietly, convincing people that this is just who we are. But heaven never agreed with that lie. And today, you stood up against it. Think of a wheel spinning endlessly, grooves so deep that every turn follows the same path. Unless something interrupts it, the wheel keeps tracing the same track. Yet when you chose to act differently today, when you forgave instead of holding a grudge, when you prayed instead of despairing, when you chose peace instead of chaos, you broke the groove. You lifted the wheel onto a new track. The ancient words recorded in the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15 declare, "But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord." Lo, this is the cry of a cycle breaker. It is not just about one decision. It is about changing the future. What Joshua proclaimed was not merely a choice for himself. It was a declaration that his family line would walk a different road from that day forward. And today, without knowing it, you echoed the same. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a cracked dam, water pressing harder and harder, threatening to flood the valley below. For years, the pressure builds, and everyone believes the flood cannot be stopped. But then one person rises and begins to patch the crack, stone by stone, until the flow is diverted into fertile fields instead of destruction. That was you, today. You did what others refused to do. You placed your stone into the breach. There are people who will never know the battles you fought in silence. They will never see the tears you poured out in secret. Yet they will live in freedom because of you. Your children, or those who come after you, will walk lighter because you chose to break what could have chained them. Do not underestimate this. Chosen one. The enemy always seeks to repeat. He thrives on cycles, because cycles keep people trapped in invisible prisons. But you are not a prisoner. You are a breaker of chains. The moment you chose differently today, you wrote a new story. Think again of Israel. For 40 years they wandered in circles through the wilderness. The land of promise was ahead. Yet the cycle of unbelief and complaint kept them bound. But Joshua and Caleb rose as cycle breakers. They carried a different spirit. They declared a new way. And through them, God led his people into inheritance. So it is with you. The wilderness you have walked has not been wasted. The desert paths, though dry, have prepared your feet for the ground of promise. And because of your stand, others will cross into freedom. Chosen one. Let your heart rest in this truth. Cycles are not eternal. They may last for generations, but they end the moment someone stands with God and chooses differently. You were that one today. Your action was not small. It was a declaration that it ends here. There will be days when the old pattern tries to return. The temptation will whisper. The familiar road will call your name. But now you know, you have already broken the power of despair. What once held authority no longer does. The chains that rattled behind you are now dust. Picture a field of dry earth, where the same weeds grow year after year. Everyone expects nothing but thorns. But one day, a new hand plants a different seed, wheat instead of thorns. The next harvest changes forever. That is the power of the choice you made today. The future is not doomed to repeat the past. You have shifted it. Heaven smiled, because what once looked inevitable has been undone. The blessing of God now flows where curses tried to live. Chosen one. You are not merely surviving, you are rewriting history. And when heaven looks at you, it sees not just a single moment of surrender, but a ripple moving outward through generations. What you did today will bless lives you may never meet. And when eternity unveils the tapestry, you will see threads of light flowing from your choice today. Every hidden act will shine. Every unseen, yes, will echo. And you will know you were part of heaven's great story. A history rewritten by obedience. Chosen one. The ripple of your action today travels farther than you think. Waves do not stop at the shore where they begin. They move outward, touching places unseen, stirring waters that seemed far away. So it is with what you did. You thought it was only a drop, only a moment, only for today. But heaven sees the chain reaction already unfolding. There is mystery in how God multiplies the smallest seed. One whisper of faith becomes courage in another heart. One quiet act of mercy becomes healing in a family. One decision to stand firm becomes strength for those who were ready to give up. This is the ripple effect of obedience. And you, chosen one, have set ripples in motion. Think of a single spark carried on the wind. It drifts into dry grass. And soon the flame spreads beyond sight, not because the spark was large, but because it was alive. What you did today was alive. It carried heaven's breath, and now it is multiplying in ways you cannot imagine. According to what is revealed in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 1, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it again." Your action was like bread released into a river. You cannot trace where it goes. You cannot track every current, but you can trust that it will return, multiplied. Heaven has already determined that nothing done in love, nothing done in obedience, will ever be lost. Let me give you an image. Imagine a mountain echo. You shout a single word into the cliffs, and moments later, the sound comes back louder, richer, layered by the landscape. Your word was the whisper, your act was the shout, and heaven is shaping the echo to come back fuller than when it left your lips. Many times you will not see the immediate outcome. That is the way of ripples. The fisherman does not always see where his net has reached. Yet fish gather because he cast it. The gardener does not see every root growing, but a forest rises in time. In the same way, your obedience has already gone where your eyes cannot. And consider this. Some of the greatest movements in history began with one small, faithful action. A prayer uttered in a hidden room sparked revival. A coin given to a stranger opened doors of provision. A step away from sin inspired others to walk free. Heaven specializes in multiplying what looks too small to matter. Perhaps you will never know the faces your act touched. Perhaps you will not hear the stories until eternity reveals them. But do not be discouraged by silence. The kingdom often works underground, like roots spreading beneath the soil. By the time the fruit appears, the network has already grown strong and unshakable. Chosen one. The ripple you began today is not fragile. It is carried by God's own hand. That means no enemy can stop it. No storm can erase it. No voice can silence it. What you sowed in faith has entered a current stronger than any opposition. Think again of the loaves and fish. The boy thought it was small, barely enough for himself. But in the hands of Jesus, it became more than enough for thousands. Your act today, though it looked ordinary, has already multiplied in the hands of the Master. Do not underestimate this. Heaven does not need you to be grand. Heaven only asks for your yes. And your yes creates ripples that outlast your lifetime. And here is the beauty. Those who are touched by your ripple may never know your name, but they will know the love of God that reached them. And when you one day stand before the throne, you will see faces, shining lives changed because of a moment you thought was too small to matter. Chosen one. Lift your heart in hope. The ripple has already begun, and heaven is smiling, watching as your single act of faith spreads like rings on a still lake, wider and wider, until it touches eternity. And when you feel tempted to doubt, remember, the water never forgets the stone that fell into it. The ripple keeps moving, even if your eyes cannot follow its journey. So it is, with your obedience it never vanishes. It only expands. One day, you will look back and realize that the unseen circles you began have touched places far beyond your reach. The blessing you released is still moving, still alive, still carrying heaven's fragrance. So breathe deep. Chosen one. What began as a drop has already become a wave. And that wave is destined to keep flowing until it washes against eternity's shore. Chosen one. Today, your prayer pierced the clouds. You may not have seen lightning strike or thunder roll when you whispered it, but heaven did not remain silent. The prayer you thought was small became a flame before the throne of God. It was gathered, stored, and marked with his seal. Prayers are never measured by volume. The loudest words can be empty, while the faintest whisper can carry fire. What matters is the heart that releases them. When you prayed today, even if your voice cracked, even if your words were simple, it reached higher than you realize. The ancient words in Revelation, chapter 5, verse 8, tell us, each one had a harp and held golden bowls full of incense, the prayers of God's people. Can you imagine that? Your prayer is not forgotten in the air. It is collected in a golden bowl, mingled with music before the throne. Heaven treats your words with more reverence than you treat your treasures. Think of rain. It begins as vapor, invisible, rising upward. Slowly it gathers, forms clouds, and in the right time, it falls back to earth as blessing. Your prayer is the vapor. You may not see it rise. You may not track its journey, but it will return as rain in its season. There was once a chosen one who prayed every night for their family. At times they grew weary, believing no one was listening. But decades later, when their children turned back to God, they realized every cry had been stored. Not one had been wasted. Heaven had kept them all until the appointed time, and this is why you cannot stop. The enemy tries to tell you your words are weak, your prayers ineffective. But the truth is, every time you pray, you swing a hammer in the spirit. Each strike may look small, but one day the wall will crack, and light will pour through. Picture a key turning in a lock. You don't always know which turn will open the door, but every turn matters. Your prayer is one more turn of the key, sooner than you expect. The lock will give way. Now, I want you to seal this moment with a declaration in the comments. Tip: Heaven hears me. 3 words, but powerful. When you write them, you are not just repeating, you are declaring that you reject doubt, you silence fear, and you stand on the truth that your prayers are not lost. This phrase is more than text, it is prophecy. It is you saying, even when I don't feel it, I believe it. Even when I don't see results, I trust the storage of heaven. My prayers are alive. So, chosen one. Continue. Keep praying when it feels like whispers in the dark. Keep praying when the sky looks empty, because every word is stored, every tear is counted, and every cry is precious. The bowl in heaven is filling, and soon the clouds will break. And maybe you've wondered, why should I keep praying if I don't see results? The truth is, prayer is not just about outcomes, it is about alignment. Every time you open your mouth before God, your spirit leans into His presence, and that changes you. Even before the answer comes, prayer molds you into the image of the one you are speaking to. When you type, "Heaven hears me," you are not only saying your words matter, you are proclaiming that you are heard by the Creator of the universe. It silences the lie of insignificance. It dethrones the thought that you are overlooked, and it reminds your soul that the God who split seas and calmed storms bends His ear toward you. Imagine a soldier in a watchtower, sending signal fires into the night. Alone. The flame seems small, but across the hills, another tower answers, and another, until the horizon burns with light. That is what prayer looks like. Your spark connects with others, and soon the night cannot hold the darkness. And don't miss this, prayer is not one-way communication. The bowls of incense in heaven are not locked away forever. They are poured out in response. That means what you prayed today may become the breakthrough of tomorrow. Heaven is not only hearing, heaven is preparing to answer. So let your declaration stand. Heaven hears me. Say it in faith. Write it with boldness. Believe it with all your heart, because your prayer is alive. Your voice matters, and the God who reigns forever has never stopped listening to you. Chosen one. Heaven saw you keep walking today, even though your strength felt gone. You were tired. Your heart carried weight, and every step felt heavy, yet you kept moving forward. That alone was worship. That alone was victory. Faith is not proven on the mountain when the view is clear and the air is fresh. Faith is proven in the valley. When the ground feels uneven, the fog blinds your sight, and you are tempted to sit down. You walked in that valley today, and you did not stop. Heaven noticed. The Word of God declares in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest, if we do not give up." That verse is your echo. Do not despise your small steps. Every weary stride you take is still sowing seed. The soil of your struggle is being watered by your tears, and heaven promises that harvest will come. Picture a marathon runner. At the starting line, energy is high. The crowd cheers. Banners wave. But hours later, when the road is long and muscles ache, the crowd is nowhere to be seen. The runner's strength now comes from within, from a decision to finish what was started. That is you. No spotlight, not cheering section, but determination burning quietly in your chest. And God Himself is running beside you, whispering, "Do not stop." And there was once a chosen one who waited through years of silence. Each morning they rose, though no answer had yet arrived. Each night they prayed, though no change appeared. To the world, it looked like wasted effort, but to heaven, it was priceless endurance. And when the time came, their perseverance birthed a breakthrough for many. That is the power of not giving up. And now, I want you to see your own endurance differently. It is not weakness to feel tired. It is not failure to long for rest. What matters is that you did not quit. Heaven calls that courage. Heaven calls that beauty. Heaven calls that strength. Here is the image. Think of a lantern carried through a storm. Rain lashes. Winds howl. But the flame inside flickers and keeps glowing. That tiny flame is more powerful than the raging wind, because it refuses to be extinguished. Your perseverance is that lantern. It lights the way, not just for you, but for others, following behind who would have been lost without your example. And so, chosen one, here is the invitation. If this word speaks into your heart, you can choose to lift it higher. You can press like, not as a duty, but as if you were placing another lantern beside yours, letting the light multiply. You can share, not for recognition, but like a weary runner handing the torch to another, ensuring the flame never dies. You can subscribe, not out of routine, but like a pilgrim deciding to stay on the path with companions who walk the same narrow road. Each of these is not an obligation, it is an act of beauty. It is you saying, "I do not walk alone. I choose to carry the light further." And if you choose not to, you are still loved, still chosen, still celebrated. But if you do, then every click becomes another step in the great marathon of faith. Every share becomes another lantern lit against the night. Every connection becomes another song woven into the symphony. Heaven is already playing over your life. So let it be free. Let it be voluntary. Let it be like lifting your tired hands in worship, not because someone told you to, but because your heart wants to join heaven's melody. That is what makes it powerful. That is what makes it eternal. Chosen one, heaven saw you walk weary today, and still you did not quit. And because of that, the song of heaven grew louder, step by step. You are building a story that will one day shine brighter than the stars. And when you finally rest your head tonight, know this: the steps you took today are not forgotten. They are marked in heaven as offerings more precious than gold. Even your sighs have become incense rising before God. Do not measure your worth by how strong you felt. Measure it by the fact that you did not stop. Heaven calls that victory. Angels call that strength. God calls that worship. So walk on. Chosen one, tomorrow's steps will carry the same weight, the same beauty, the same song, and with every stride, the flame inside you will only burn brighter. Chosen one, there is a moment that touches the heart of God more deeply than almost any other. When you choose mercy over revenge, the world teaches otherwise. The world says, take back what's yours, make them pay, give them what they deserve. But today, you did something different. You chose mercy, and heaven rejoiced. It is not easy, is it? Mercy feels costly. Forgiveness feels like laying down your shield, leaving yourself exposed. Revenge feels strong, satisfying in the moment, but empty in the end. Mercy, though it feels weak at first, carry eternal strength. What you did today, in showing mercy, reflected the very nature of God himself. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Romans, chapter 12, verse 21, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. This is the mystery of mercy. It flips the power dynamic. Evil expects you to retaliate. Darkness feeds on cycles of pain. But when you respond with grace, the cycle is broken. What once passed from hand to hand stops with you. You become a wall against hatred, not a mirror reflecting it. Think of water poured on fire. Flames roar. Sparks rise. But as the water flows, the crackle fades, the heat disappears, and silence returns. Your mercy today was water on the fire. What could have burned hotter stopped, because you refused to fuel it. There was once a chosen one who was wronged deeply by those closest to them. Every reason to retaliate was in their hands, yet they chose differently. They knelt in prayer for those who had betrayed them. At first, it felt like loss, but years later, the very ones they prayed for turned back, healed and changed. Their mercy had opened a door no vengeance ever could. Mercy always opens doors. It may not change the other person immediately, but it changes the atmosphere. It moves the unseen realm. It declares that love, not hate, has the final word. That is why heaven treasures mercy. It echoes the cross. Picture a garden in winter. The earth is frozen, colorless, lifeless, and yet, beneath the frost, seeds wait. When mercy is sown in frozen soil, it feels pointless, even foolish. But the thaw always comes, and when it does, the seeds of mercy bloom brighter than any other flower. The enemy despises mercy because it mirrors Christ. Satan thrives on bitterness, revenge, and cycles of destruction. When you show mercy, you remind him of his defeat at Calvary. You remind him of the day mercy triumphed over judgment, when the Son of God stretched out his arms and said, "Father, forgive them, always, chosen one." What you did today is not weakness. Mercy is never weakness. Mercy is authority. Mercy is power restrained. Mercy is strength that chooses compassion over destruction. You reflected your Father's heart, and nothing could be more glorious. And yes, sometimes mercy hurts. Sometimes forgiveness feels like tearing your own heart open. But that pain is not wasted. Heaven gathers every tear. Every choice to forgive becomes a seed that heaven waters with grace. Do not let the enemy whisper that your mercy was pointless. He will try to tell you that nothing changed, that you gave in, that you lost. But the truth is the opposite. You won. You chose victory over bitterness. You chose heaven's way over the world's way. And that is never wasted. Imagine a stained glass window. From one side, it looks dark, colorless, broken by lead lines. But when light passes through, beauty explodes in every hue. Mercy is like that. When the light of God shines through your brokenness, your act of compassion becomes something radiant, something eternal. Chosen one, keep walking this path. The world may not understand, but heaven does. The Father's heart beats with joy when his children choose mercy. And one day, when all is revealed, you will see how powerful this moment truly was. And though mercy may feel unseen, it is never unnoticed. Heaven marks the moment you release forgiveness, like a crown placed gently on your head. You became more like Christ in that instant than in any victory the world could offer. Do not confuse silence with absence. Just because the fruit of mercy takes time to appear does not mean it will not grow. Seeds, sown in tears, often bloom into forests of joy. Your act today has already shifted the soil of tomorrow. So stand firm. Chosen one. You are not weaker for choosing mercy. You are stronger than you know. The echo of your decision will outlast the pain, and the fragrance of grace will follow you wherever you go. Chosen one. What you did in silence today was far greater than you imagine. When no one was watching, you made a decision to guard your purity. Others may never know. They may never see the moments when temptation called and you turned away, or when compromise beckoned and you refused. But heaven saw, and heaven rejoiced. Purity is not about appearance. It is not about impressing people with an image. It is about the choices you make when the room is empty, when the light is gone, when no one else can applaud or condemn. And in that silence, you stood strong. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 17, verse 10. I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. And this is what heaven honored in you today. God does not look only at what the crowd sees. He looks deeper, into the chambers of the heart. And he found in you a heart willing to remain clean, willing to fight for holiness, willing to protect what is sacred. That made his heart glad. Think of a soldier guarding a gate at night. The town is asleep, unaware of danger, and he alone holds the line. Hours pass. The cold bites, but he does not leave his post. The people will never know how many enemies were turned away while they slept peacefully. That is you, chosen one. Your purity has guarded more than just yourself. It has protected others. It has preserved the presence of God in places where compromise would have brought ruin. The enemy despises purity because it carries authority. Temptation is his attempt to strip you of power, to trade your crown for ashes. But when you resist, you remind him that he has no claim on you. You remind him of the one who overcame every temptation in the wilderness and walked out victorious. Purity is costly. It often feels lonely, but it is never wasted. Every no you say to sin is a louder yes to heaven. Every moment you guard your heart becomes another jewel in the crown awaiting you. Let me tell you a story of a chosen one who fought this same battle year after year. They remained faithful in the hidden places, saying no to what others embraced. Friends mocked, saying they were too rigid, too old-fashioned. Yet when storms came and compromise destroyed others, this one stood firm, unshaken, and became a pillar others leaned on. Purity preserved them for their assignment, and through them, many were saved. Imagine a river flowing through a city. If the source becomes polluted, the whole city suffers. But if the source is kept pure, life flows everywhere the water runs. Your purity today is that river source. It may look small, but it sustains life beyond what you can see. Chosen one. Purity is not about being flawless. It is about being faithful. It is about returning to God again and again, asking him to keep your heart clean. And that is exactly what you did. Heaven has recorded it, and your Father's delight rests upon you. And now, I want you to seal this moment. In the comments, type the number 111. This is not just a number, it is a prophetic act. 3 ones together declare unity, your spirit, soul, and body aligning with the will of God. When you write 111, you are declaring, I choose to walk in oneness with the Lord. Every part of me belongs to him. I will remain whole, undivided, and pure in his presence. And let this be your mark. The number itself is simple, but the meaning behind it is eternal. It is you planting a flag in the ground, saying, my purity is not divided. My heart is one with him, and I will remain his. And so hold fast. Chosen one, guard the gate. Keep the source pure. The light of heaven shines brighter through a vessel kept clean. And today, heaven is singing over you because you chose holiness when no one else was watching. And when you write 111, you are also proclaiming alignment with the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. It is your way of saying, every decision, every thought, every heartbeat of mine is aligned with heaven. The number becomes your reminder that you are not walking in fragments but in divine unity. So let this declaration strengthen you. Each time you see it, remember that your life is whole in Him. You are not scattered. You are not divided. You are one with the one who chose you. And purity will remain your banner. Chosen one. What you planted today may look invisible to you, but heaven has already seen the roots begin to stir. Seeds never reveal their power. At the moment they are sown, they vanish into the soil, hidden from sight. But within that silence, a transformation begins. What you did today was the planting of a seed. The world often measures success by immediacy, by what can be seen, counted, or applauded right now. But the kingdom moves differently. Heaven celebrates what is hidden, because it knows hidden things are the ones that last. A seed buried in darkness is not wasted. It is preparing to rise. So it is with your act of obedience, according to what is revealed in the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 19. Is there yet any seed left in the barn? Until now, the vine and the fig tree, the pomegranate and the olive tree have not borne fruit. From this day on, I will bless you. Oh, this is the promise of the sower, even before the harvest shows. Blessing has already been declared. What you did today may look small, may feel silent, but heaven has already stamped it with favor. Let me give you a picture. Imagine an artist painting layer by layer on a canvas. At first, the strokes look scattered, meaningless. No one walking past understands the design, but the artist knows the vision. When the final stroke lands, beauty emerges from what once looked like confusion. Your seed is part of that masterpiece. Seeds are also acts of faith. Because planting always requires letting go, you place something in the ground, your time, your prayer, your act of love, knowing you could not control what happened next. That is faith. Trusting God with the unseen process, believing that what disappears in the soil will rise in His time. There was once a chosen one who planted faithfully, day after day, with no sign of growth. Neighbors mocked, saying nothing would ever sprout. Friends advised to stop wasting effort, yet he continued to sow. And when the rain finally came, the harvest was greater than the fields around him. Why? Because seeds remember seasons. They wait patiently until the appointed time. Think of bamboo. For years after planting, nothing seems to happen. The ground looks bare, but beneath the soil, roots are expanding, weaving, strengthening. Then suddenly, in one season, the stalk shoots up higher than any other plant. That is what your faithfulness resembles. Heaven is nurturing the hidden roots, preparing for a sudden rise. The enemy tries to lie in these seasons. He whispers, "It's useless. Nothing is happening. Stop planting." But you must know, silence does not mean absence. Stillness does not mean death. Every seed carries life encoded within it. And when the time is right, nothing can stop it from breaking through. Chosen one, do not despise the hidden season. It is holy ground. Heaven cherishes it because it proves trust. Anyone can celebrate the fruit, but only the faithful endure the waiting. Your endurance today has made God's heart glad. Imagine rain clouds forming over distant mountains. You cannot see the water yet, but the air grows heavy. The winds shift, and you know the rain is on its way. That is what heaven is doing with your seed. The conditions are changing. The blessing is approaching. And even if your eyes cannot yet see, your seed is alive. It carries more power than you can imagine. One day, what you planted today will stand tall like a tree, giving shade to those who never knew you, sowed it. Children will rest beneath it. Strangers will find shelter. Lives will be changed because you chose to release that small act of faith. Chosen one. Remember this truth. Sowing is not loss. It is investment. What you give to God is never gone. It is multiplied. Today, you sowed in faith. Tomorrow, you will reap in joy. So rest in this. Heaven has already seen your seed. Heaven has already declared blessing. And in time, you will look upon fields of harvest and realize it all began with the quiet act you made today. And when the harvest comes, you will see it was worth every hidden moment. The nights you prayed in silence, the hours you gave without recognition, each one will bloom before your eyes. The soil may look empty now, but heaven has already written your story in green and gold. Seeds cannot remain buried forever. They are destined to rise. So hold on. Chosen one. The ground you walk upon today is holy because of what you planted, and soon the earth itself will testify that your seed was never forgotten. Chosen one. Heaven saw what happened today in the unseen battle. You may not even realize the weight of it. But because of your stand, the enemy's plan failed. What was meant to harm you was overturned. What was designed to break, you only became another stone beneath your feet. The enemy has always tried to build traps in silence. He works in whispers, in shadows, setting snares where you least expect. But today, by choosing truth, by clinging to God, you shattered his strategy. And in the spirit realm, chains broke and doors closed against him. The ancient words recorded in the book of Job, chapter 5, verse 12 declare, "He thwarts the plans of the crafty, so that their hands achieve no success." That is what happened today. The adversary thought his scheme was clever, but God himself stepped in. Through your obedience, the trap was exposed, and the plot was crushed before it could reach its goal. Think of a wave crashing against a rock. The water rises with force, threatening to overwhelm. But as it meets the rock, it shatters into spray, powerless to continue. That rock was your faith today. The storm came, but it broke when it collided with what God had planted in you. There was once a chosen one who lived with constant opposition. Enemies plotted against him. Lies circled around him. Doors slammed in his face. Yet every time, God turned the attack into protection. What should have destroyed him became the very reason he stood taller. Today, you walked that same path. The enemy's arrow was fired, but it missed its mark because heaven shielded you. Understand this. When you stand in obedience, you participate in victory already won. Christ defeated the power of darkness once and for all at the cross. Every scheme formed against you is only an echo of a battle already lost, and your simple faith is enough to remind the enemy of his defeat. Chosen one. The plans that rise against you may look intimidating, but they crumble the moment you stand firm. The trap loses its power the moment you choose holiness. What looked like a weapon becomes harmless in your hands. Imagine a chessboard. The adversary moves pieces, thinking he is clever, calculating his strategy. Yet the master already sees the end of the game. What the enemy believes is a winning move is already turned into defeat by the one who holds the future. That is what happened today. God was 10 steps ahead, and your obedience sealed the victory. Do not think lightly of this. The battle you faced may have seemed invisible, but its impact was real. By saying no to temptation, by speaking truth instead of lies, by choosing faith instead of fear, you blocked a doorway the enemy wanted to open. Because of your decision, not only you, but others connected to you have been protected. The enemy wanted shame to cover you, but your obedience placed a shield around your name. He wanted despair to settle in your spirit, but your prayer lifted hope instead. He wanted bitterness to grow roots, but your choice of forgiveness cut them out. This is how the enemy's plan fails, not with noise, but with faith lived quietly and faithfully. And do you know what heaven does in these moments? It celebrates. Angels mark the victory. The Father declares his delight, and the Son, who knows the weight of temptation, whispers, "Well done, my child." So when you feel the heaviness of battle, remember this truth. The victory is not fragile. It does not depend on your strength alone. It rests in the finished work of Christ, and your faith connects you to that eternal triumph. Chosen one, take courage. The trap that was meant for you has been broken. The path that was meant to block you is now open, and the very opposition that rose against you will one day become your testimony of God's power. The enemy's plan failed, and it will continue to fail, because you belong to the one who never loses. And even if you felt the pressure today, do not confuse pressure with defeat. Pressure only proves the weight of your assignment. The enemy pressed hard because he knew what was at stake, but your endurance declared his failure. Every arrow he loosed has already fallen to the ground. Every snare he set has already been cut apart. You walked through the battlefield and came out standing, and that alone testifies that heaven's covering has never left you. So lift your head, chosen one. Let the assurance of this victory carry you forward. The enemy's plan did not succeed, and tomorrow, your steps will remain just as secure under the shadow of the Almighty. Chosen one. Heaven does not overlook even the smallest act you offer in love. Every detail is written, every hidden gesture recorded in eternity's book. You may have thought what you did today disappeared into silence, but it was written in heaven's scrolls with ink that cannot fade. Do you remember what was spoken in the book of Malachi? Chapter 3, verse 16. Those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll was written in his presence. That is what happened today. The moment you chose to honor God, even in a way that seemed ordinary. Heaven's scribe wrote it down. The scroll of remembrance now carries your story. Picture a great library stretching farther than sight. Each shelf holds the records of lives, some filled with noise, others filled with emptiness. But there are volumes that glow with light, pages inscribed with acts of love and faith. When the angels walk through, they pause at these volumes, reading aloud with reverence. Your pages are glowing tonight. What you sow in faith may be hidden now, but it will not stay hidden in eternity. Your choices will be unveiled like treasures discovered in a sealed chest. Every unseen act will shine brighter than gold. Every whispered prayer will rise as a chorus. Every step of obedience will echo like music. Chosen one, you are building history with heaven. The world records fame, fortune, and fleeting power, but heaven records surrender, mercy, purity, and faithfulness. And heaven's record will last when every earthly headline fades to dust. Now let me invite you into an image. Imagine a cathedral, not built with stone, but with light. Each time someone chooses faith, a window is set into the walls. Each time someone forgives, another color is added to the glass. Each time someone gives quietly, a new beam shines through. And when the light of God streams in, the cathedral glows in colors unseen by human eyes. You are one of those windows. Your life is part of this eternal masterpiece. So if this word touches your spirit, you are welcome to join in adding another stone, another window, another light. You can press like, not as an obligation, but as if you were laying a stone into that cathedral, another part of heaven's record shining forth. You can share, not for numbers or attention, but as if you were carrying a torch into another darkened hallway, letting the glow spread. You can subscribe, not because you are told to, but as if you are choosing to walk with fellow pilgrims who are also building this house of light. And here is the part that is most precious. You can leave a comment, not as empty words, but as your inscription in this cathedral of faith. Write your phrase, your declaration, your amen, as if you were carving it into the walls of eternity. Your words here are not just seen by people, they are echoes in the unseen. Every action you take becomes part of this imagery, not forced, not mechanical, but chosen, beautiful, voluntary. Heaven treasures what flows freely from a surrendered heart. Chosen one. Never underestimate the weight of being written down. Heaven's library grows brighter because of you. And one day, when the books are opened, you will hear your own story read aloud by the one who never forgets. So let every act you do here be like laying your stone into the cathedral, like adding your note into the symphony, like carving your name into the scroll of remembrance. And know this, your story is safe in heaven's hands. And when you think about eternity's library, remember this, no book there is ever misplaced. No act of love is lost. No whisper of prayer forgotten. Every page written about you shines with the ink of grace. And one day, those records will be read aloud with joy. Your quiet, yes, your unseen faithfulness, and even your smallest steps are chapters in that book. They may feel fragile now, but in the halls of heaven, they are weighty with glory. Angels pause when your story is read, because your obedience carries eternal fragrance. So, walk with confidence. Chosen one. Each decision you make in love, each step you take in surrender, continues to write, and when the scroll of remembrance is opened, you will see it was never empty. It has always been filled with light because of what you chose today. Chosen one. Heaven has prepared a crown for you. Every step you've taken in faith, every moment of unseen obedience, every choice to trust rather than turn away, each one has added to that crown. You may not see it yet, but the jewels of eternity are being set in place. Crowns in heaven are not made of earthly gold. They are not forged in the way kings and rulers of this world display their power. They are woven from faith, from sacrifice, from love poured out when no one noticed. The crown awaiting you has been crafted from the very moments you thought were forgotten. The ancient words recorded in the book of Obadiah, verse 17, declare, "But on Mount Zion will be deliverance, it will be holy, and Jacob will possess his inheritance." This is the echo over your journey: deliverance, holiness, inheritance. You may walk through trial, you may feel weary, but heaven promises that your endurance is leading to possession of what is yours. Every moment of faith adds to your eternal inheritance. Every act of surrender shapes the crown being prepared. Think of a craftsman carefully setting stones into a band. Each gem is chosen, cut, and polished, then placed into its proper setting. The crown is not made in haste. It takes time, patience, and precision. That is what heaven has been doing with your life. Every act of obedience is a gem. Every sacrifice is polished. Every tear surrendered is set into place. There was once a chosen one who spent years laboring in obscurity. People saw little fruit, and some even mocked their dedication. Yet heaven was keeping count. At the end of their race, when their eyes opened to glory, a crown of light was placed on their head, far greater than any earthly treasure. You are walking that same path. The enemy wants you to believe that what you do is pointless, that there is no reward, nor recognition. But the truth is this: nothing done for God is ever wasted. Even the smallest act carries eternal value. Each time you resist compromise, another stone is set in your crown. Each time you choose mercy, another jewel shines brighter. Each time you endure in silence, heaven's craftsmen continue their work. Picture a tree in winter, bare of leaves, stripped by the cold wind. To most eyes, it looks dead. Yet, beneath the surface, life is flowing, preparing for a spring that will reveal beauty again. So it is with your crown. You may not see it now, but life is hidden in the process, and glory is already growing. Chosen one, do not compare your crown to another's. Each one is unique, woven from each person's journey. Yours carries the colors of your tears, the shine of your endurance, the weight of your faith. What God has promised you cannot be stolen, and no one else can wear it. The crown is not just for you, it is also a testimony. When others see it in eternity, they will understand that God's grace sustained you. It will be a witness that you remained faithful when it would have been easier to turn away. It will speak of a love greater than pain, a hope stronger than despair. Do not despise the waiting. Do not question the process. Heaven is not careless with the treasures it prepares. Every detail is intentional, and the crown of life that awaits you is not just decoration, it is destiny fulfilled. Honor bestowed, love displayed forever. Chosen one, lift your eyes beyond the trials, beyond the struggles. There is a day coming when the Father himself will place the crown on your head. His voice will thunder with joy as he says, "Well done." And in that moment, every step, every tear, every act will be worth it. So walk forward with hope. The crown is real, the promise is sure, and heaven is still shaping it from the very choices you made today. And when that day comes, your crown will not just rest upon your head, it will shine as testimony. Every jewel will speak. Every gleam will tell the story of your hidden faith. What felt like silence will roar in eternity as proof that you endured. Do not doubt the weight of what you have planted. Heaven has been counting each moment, polishing each gem, preparing a beauty that earthly eyes cannot yet see. Even now, angels rejoice as the crown is being shaped for you. So, walk forward with steady steps. The path may feel narrow, but glory is waiting at the end. And when your crown is placed upon you, you will know none of it was in vain. Chosen one, you end this day wrapped in divine approval. Not because you were perfect, not because every step was easy, but because you kept choosing Him, and heaven has smiled. This final moment of the day is not a fading of light, but a seal, a reminder that greater works are still ahead for you. The journey has been long, and at times you wondered if your steps mattered. But the truth is, not one step was wasted. Every tear, every sigh, every whispered prayer became part of the path you are walking now. You have not been walking in circles. You have been walking upward, higher into the purposes of God. The Word of God declares in the book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. And of rest, this is the life you have been shaping, moment by moment. Each act of mercy, each decision of humility, each pursuit of justice has aligned you with the heart of God. That alignment is why His delight rests on you now. Picture a sunset after a long day's journey. The sky burns with colors that no human hand could paint, signaling the end of one day, but also the promise of another. That is where you stand. Chosen one. Today closes, but tomorrow waits with even brighter hues. Heaven is already preparing your next sunrise. Do not underestimate what lies ahead. The same God who carried you through valleys and storms is the God who will carry you into new victories. What you did today was not just about surviving, it was about preparing you for the future, shaping you into one who can stand strong in the coming season. There was once a chosen one who thought their story was closing. Years of struggle, silence, and waiting made them believe nothing new could come. But in the very moment they thought the end had arrived, God whispered, I am only beginning. Their latter days carried more fruit than their beginnings, and so it will be with you. The enemy wants you to think this day was ordinary, but heaven knows it was a milestone. Every act today added to your crown, every prayer stored in bowls, every step another stone laid in your eternal foundation. What you see as ordinary, heaven calls sacred. Imagine standing before a mirror that does not just reflect your face, but your soul. You would see light shimmering where you thought there was only weakness, jewels glinting where you thought there was only loss. That is how heaven looks at you tonight, not through the lens of failure, but through the radiance of grace. Chosen one, do not despise small beginnings, and do not underestimate simple faith. The kingdom of God is built on such things. The door before you is opening wider, because today you proved faithful in the little. Tomorrow, greater things await. So let this be your rest. You are not forgotten. You are not ordinary. You are not left behind. You are crowned with favor, wrapped in mercy, and destined for glory. Tonight closes with God's smile resting on you, and tomorrow will open with His voice still guiding your steps. Chosen one, What you did today made his heart glad. And the story is not ending here. It is only unfolding further into the greatness he has written for you. And when you wake tomorrow, remember, this day was not just another page, it was a turning point. Heaven has already recorded it as a chapter marked with light. A day when your obedience tipped the balance of eternity. You will carry its fragrance forward into every step yet to come. The world may not notice, may not applaud, but the applause of men is dust compared to the voice of God. Tonight his voice resounds over you, declaring that your journey is not wasted, your fight is not in vain, and your faith has become a banner waving in unseen realms. So take courage. Rest in peace tonight, knowing that even in your weakness, God was strong. Even in your hiddenness, heaven celebrated. The same hand that guided you today will lift you tomorrow, steady and sure, never letting you slip. Chosen one, you are still becoming. The story is still unfolding. And the crown, the harvest, the joy prepared for you is closer than you think. This is not the end, it is the threshold of glory. Step into tomorrow with hope, for your Father is waiting there with arms wide open. Chosen one. Before we close this journey together, pause for a moment and breathe. What you have walked through in these words was not random, it was heaven's whisper to you. Every page, every sentence was written to remind you that you are seen, you are chosen, and you are loved beyond measure. Now, imagine this, a great fire burning on a hilltop in the night. One flame alone could be swallowed by the darkness, but when others join, the hill becomes a beacon that guides travelers home. That is what happens when you add your voice, your presence, your act of connection here. If this message stirred your spirit, let your action be like adding another flame to the hill. You can press like, not because you must, but as though you are lighting your torch to say, I am here. I carry the same fire. You can share, not as an algorithm's demand, but as if you are passing the flame along, letting it touch those still wandering in the dark. And yes, you can subscribe not mechanically, but like a pilgrim choosing to continue the journey with others, walking the same road. And you can leave a comment, your own carved mark in this cathedral of voices. A declaration that heaven's word has reached you here. None of this is pressure. It is invitation. It is beauty. It is the chance to let what touched you tonight ripple out further than you alone could carry. So take your place. Chosen one, add your light tea.